Hello and welcome to an unprofessional RenPy tutorial. Today we're going to be talking about data backups. First, let's talk about why. So I feel like data backups is not a fun thing we like to think about. It's not interesting, so we tend to push it to the back of our mind. We tend to not think about it, and then it sneaks up on us because you have to prepare for data loss before it happens, because after you've lost the data, it's lost and you can't get it back. Or, well, you sort of can. Hey, let's talk about a story. So, 5 years ago, I bought an SSD. A SSD, oh, whatever. 5 years ago, I bought an SSD, and it was a cheap, no name, no brand SSD sort of thing that I was using to run Windows 10. You may discover that I'm now running Windows 11. Um, it died, and because I was also saving all of my personal data on that drive, it took all of that personal data with it. If you go to a data retrieval company, companies that specialize in pulling data off of dead drives and dead storage devices, they're going to do that thing where they suck air through their teeth and go, "Yeah, that's gonna be a particularly tricky job, standard SSD, whatever." They'll quote you anything from £400 to £1,300 or something. At least that's what I got. Um, in my brief foray into, hey, how do I get this data back? Answer is by paying a lot of money. And quite frankly, most of that data was just Steam games that I can re-download, and I don't care about the save files. So I've just considered it a loss and accepted that the RenPy project that I was working on, I still have. Fortunately, a little paranoid part of my brain was like, hey, maybe what if one day the computer break? You should take a copy of this. Except I just plugged in an external SSD drive, saved it onto that, and then forgot about it. So the only thing I have is a 2-month-old backup of my project. 2 months worth of work, not too much, but it's still not something we want to do. So to answer the question of why data backup, because we need to prepare for it before it happens, and then just hope it never happens. But better to be prepared. Um, TLDR, data loss sucks. Second of all, specifically what is Git and GitHub? Hey, I'm not going to teach you what Git is because I feel like there are. I'm not professional. I'm not a professional speaky person. There is someone else probably on YouTube that can explain to you what Git is better than I can. Um, or at least all the thing. It's got fancy words like push and pull and commit and fetch and merge conflicts, and it's software. What do we care about? As far as we're concerned, what is Git and GitHub? Git is a thing that software engineers, people who make software, use to um, create versions of their software in in the development process. You know, when you sit down and you do work for a bit, and then you work for a bit, and then you think, I'm feeling hungry or tired, or I've got. I think people have hobbies. You have those things, and then you go and do them, and then you come back. Um, what if you go to bed and then you come back the next day and that data is broken, or something like that? Um, Essentially, developing software takes time, so Git is a way to track how much, like what version of the data are we on? As in like, yeah, I can't really explain it better than that. Um, it's a version tracking software. Additionally, it helps with multiple people using, like, if multiple people are working on the same project. Say if I'm working on a RenPy game and my friend Trevor is drawing artwork for me and giving that to me, and then I put that into the project. Um, well, if he's, maybe I don't want him to have to keep giving me all the artwork, and then I put it in, so I can give him access to the code. I can give him access to the project as well. And whenever he makes the artwork, he can add it into the project. And then when I'm writing my script and whatever, I can add that into the project, and then they just seamlessly merge together. And there are never any merge conflicts. But don't worry about those. We don't care about that. That is what Git can be used for. Um, which this tutorial today is assuming that we are a single developer working on uh, a RenPy project that we want to be able to put somewhere on the cloud. We want to easily just go to the cloud, go online, and specifically GitHub. GitHub is a company slash data storage place slash, I don't know what you call it. It's a website. It's a website. There's a company that runs it. You know what? You know the sort. We're going to go to them and say, hey, hold on to this project for us for free, and also don't show anyone else except us. And also, we're going to take the optional setting to turn off training AI using this data. Yeah, we're just using it as a storage medium for backups. Um, and they'll do that because every software company kind of does that. I think not, maybe not everyone, but basically everyone uses GitHub and Git, and therefore they don't care if some random person like us goes ahead and starts using it. So yeah. Um, Also, Visual Studio Code has some nice integration with Git that we can use to facilitate that. Uh, how? Two steps. We're gonna create the Git repo. Uh, I'll explain what a repo is in a bit, but essentially files. Like we're gonna declare a bunch of files. What a repo is like that. There's a repo. That's all a repo is. Just a bunch of files and folders. Um, and basically everything in that folder and is part of the repo. Um, we declare that, we put it on GitHub, and then we learn how to use it daily, because it's all well and good creating an initial backup of your game, but 2 months down the line, that initial backup is going to be 2 months out of date. We want to be able to easily, at the end of every day, click a button and just make a backup. Not quite click a button, is click 3 buttons, but that'll be fine. So let's do that. First of all, download if you haven't already got it. You probably should have RenPy, I imagine, if this is a RenPy tutorial. And Visual Studio Code. Um, get those two. There are other tutorials for how to set those up. And Git. You just download it and install it. RenPy, download latest version. Green one, that'll do. Git install for Windows. Or just git install. That will work for Windows. That will work for Mac. And if you're Linux, you probably already know all of this already. And Visual Studio Code. They've rebranded as AI Code. We're not going to use AI for our stuff. Visual Studio Code, just in general, is a good code editing software. We just don't use the AI features because, yeah. Click button, big button, whichever one is applicable. Download, install those three things. You should be good. Then we make a GitHub account. I already have a GitHub account, so I can't really show you that process. And also, I don't want to show you, here's my email address, here's my username, here's my password. I'll show you my username, but yeah, make an account on GitHub. It's free. Don't worry about it. You just hit email address, username, and password. Setting git config. So you've downloaded RenPy already, probably. You've already probably got Visual Studio Code. You can, if you really hate Visual Studio Code, you can avoid Visual Studio Code. I'm gonna start saying VS Code again. But like it makes it easier. It also makes it more visual. So I'm going to teach as if we are using VS Code. But technically, rest assured, if you just want to write RenPy in like Notepad and use Git, you can use Git without VS Code. You got those stuff. You have your GitHub account. One thing we need to do real quick: set git config. So find a random, like anywhere in Windows Explorer or the Mac version, I think. After you have Git installed, you should right click and see open Git bash here as an option. And that will open up this little command terminal thingy looking thing. We need to real quick type git config -- user.email, whatever email address you used for GitHub when you created the GitHub account. Type that in there, hit enter. Obviously, my email address isn't example.email, so I'm not going to hit enter, but type that in, hit enter, and also git config -- global user.name and whatever name you use for your GitHub account, or just whatever name you feel like, as I discovered, but probably GitHub account. That's fine. Again, hit enter. You have set those configs. I feel like there should be some part where it tells you, hey, put in your password. So this, by the way, is basically telling Git, whenever we're talking to GitHub, use the username Roanoke and use the user email example at Gmail. You would think that there's somewhere that we need to give a password, and I don't know if we do or don't. Then maybe they figured out a way that we don't, but I haven't been prompted for a password, so it just kind of works. Anyway, so we have downloaded and basically set up Git and GitHub, and probably also VS Code if you didn't already have it. Now we need to set up the repo, because it's all well and good that we have a theoretical GitHub account. We need to create like a repo for our specific project, and we are going to, assuming we already have an existing project, we're going to create a new project anyway, because it's easier to test and kind of do stuff with a clean, fresh project. Learn GitHub, learn Git this way, at least as far as what I'm going to teach you. Again, we're only learning Git in the context of how can I create a backup of my data on GitHub. Project name, we're going to call this Git test. That'll do. We don't care about any of this because we're just using a test project. Cool, so we now have our test project and we can go ahead and open it. One thing we might notice as we check up here, .gitignore, we have this file, this thing. If you have created RenPy projects before without Git installed, you wouldn't have seen this. The RenPy launcher is smart enough when we are creating a new project to notice, hey, we have Git installed on this machine. We're probably going to use that maybe at some point. So it will create a .gitignore file, which is a Git file. By itself, this isn't a Git repo, but if we create a Git repo from this, this file will be useful. What is a .gitignore file? It's basically a list of the things that we don't need to save as a backup. As far as we're concerned, it is a list of things we don't need to put on GitHub and declare, like, here's our save. Here's all the saves whenever we're, making quick saves and stuff. Here's our error logs and stuff. We don't need that saved on GitHub, so we don't bother, because if theoretically someone else were to grab that project and look at it, they don't need these files to run it as we need to. You get what I mean? Anyway, if you already have an existing project that, say, doesn't have this .gitignore file, this is another reason why we want to create a test project, because we can go ahead and take this and just copy the contents into a .gitignore file in our existing project. However, we also need to create. We need to go to this place here, and basically this is the RenPy project. We need to declare this as a Git repo. Again, a Git repo is essentially pointing at the folder git test and saying this folder and any children folders and files, all of this stuff is just part of the repo. Like all of that stuff, keep an eye on it and let me know if any changes happen. And that'll make sense in a bit. Over here, source control. Control plus Shift plus G. Click it. And we come up source control. Currently, this is not a Git project, so it is saying, hey, would you like to initialize a repository here, or do you want to publish to GitHub? Publish to GitHub basically initializes a repository, creates an initial commit, and pushes it straight to GitHub. We want to do those 3 steps, so click that. Publish to GitHub as a private repository or as a public repository. If we make it private, only we can see it. If we make it public, other people can see it, but only we can edit it. We're gonna do private because we don't want to. You see there, it made an initial commit and pushed it. If you don't know what that means, don't worry. I'll explain. Yeah, we're going to make it private because we don't want to show other people our work just yet. That's fine. Cool. Let's go check GitHub, shall we? So here it is. github.com/roanoke/git dash test. You won't be able to see it because it is private. But here we can see game folder, .vs code folder, and if I would pull up this folder here, we can see it is a mirror image of that. About pow, you see, with a small caveat. Obviously, we now have, maybe you can see a .git folder in your local folder. That is an invisible file by default. Windows doesn't like to show you invisible folders. Files and folders. I will use those terms incorrectly and interchangeably. By default, Windows doesn't like to show you invisible folders. So you might not see that unless you have changed show invisible folders to be true. But it created that as when we created the GitHub. We clicked create a repository or whatever. That's what it did. That is essentially tracking changes we make to our local copy of the game, of the project. And also it's tracking graph. It's doing stuff. We don't have to care about it. We don't even need to look at it. We're just going to look at this. Because, hey, look, set up the repo, open VS Code, click publish. That was all we had to, we opened VS Code and we clicked that button and did it. We've set up our repo. Easy. Now for daily usage. So how do we use it every day? Because as I said before, if we create a backup and then 2 months down the line, we have made 2 months worth of changes. We need to make sure that those changes are being saved every day because we don't know when our computer will die on us or something. So make some changes, make changes, stage them, commit them with a commit message and push to GitHub. That's the long and short of it. I will explain what that means and why in a bit more verbose, but essentially 5 steps. Number 1, you start your day, you sit down, you do a bunch of work. At the end of the day, right before you get up and go to bed or have a hobby or something, you stage the changes, write the commit message, commit changes, and then push it. I'm gonna real quick do some changes. So we sit down, we start writing a script. hi, something else. You know, we're an excellent writer. That's all well and good. Git isn't going to care about the fact that this is a broken RenPy project. Doesn't matter. Also for demonstration, I'm just gonna like take that out. I don't care about it. And also, why not? We can go into here into GUI, and we're gonna grab, say, main menu, copy and paste, just as examples. So we've done our day's worth of work. We were very busy today, and we did that. Now time to stage hang on. There you go. We've done some work. Now, how do we stage the changes? So if we come over here to source control, again, Control Shift G, we will see a list of everything we have changed since our last commit. When we created the repo, it made an initial commit for us, which is basically, hey, you know everything in or like all of this stuff. Yeah, keep track of that. All of that became the initial commit, and then we can see that here. You know, don't worry about it. If we look at these, you can see a bit of red because we deleted we deleted those things. Green means we added those things. And also we have created a whole new file as well. These are all the changes that we have made since our first commit, or essentially our day's worth of work. We want to stage them. The laziest way, the easiest thing we can do right now is just type a message, any old message, doesn't have to be something, hit commit, and then it will say, hey, you've not staged anything. Do you want to just stage everything? And we can just say yes, stage everything, and it'll do it. If we want to get more fancy, and why not? I'll show you what we mean by staging changes. Let's say we want to stage this change. It's a very important change. We want to stage it. We don't want to stage this change. We don't want to stage this change, but we do want to stage. We created main menu.copy / copy. You know. So how do we do that? There's a little plus icon up here. Stage all changes. We don't want to change that because we don't want to click that because we don't want to stage everything. We can plus icon here, stage every change in the script file. Nearly what we want. We want to just stage this block. There's a little plus icon here saying stage this block. We hit stage. It's now forming a new list of everything we have staged for a commit. Again, if you don't know what a commit is, it might make sense in a bit. If not, you will have to go check a Git tutorial. We also want to stage this. We can just stage the whole file. Did I say we want to commit this? Why not? Let's go ahead and commit it. We can stage everything in all the changes to .gui. We need to write a message. This message can be anything, but realistically, it should be something useful. Anyway, sorry, the dogs went a bit crazy. Anyway, we have written any old message. It doesn't matter. We hit commit because we have those changes already. They have been committed. You see down here, this is a graph of basically everything we have changed as we change it. The first commit was just here is everything, and this second commit, I should have named that something I could pronounce. Guers, we're going to call that Guers. This Guers change is just showing, hey, you have taken that out, you have added in this file, and you have added in these lines of dialogue. This is only local. If I real quick pop it up, the git test repo over on GitHub, you see it hasn't taken into account these changes. The most recent changes to the game folder is first commit. What we need to do is we need to push these changes write the message, commit the changes. We've done those. Push to GitHub. How do we do that? Little button there. Push, and it's that done. If I pull up GitHub and I hit refresh, see the most recent change to the game folder was our genius, like very helpful commit message. Again, you see short and sweet with the commit messages, but yeah, you see we have added in main menu dash copy. We have made some changes to GUI.rpy, which was, I think, just take out a random block of stuff. And the script, we have made our lovely changes there. That's all we have to do. We sit down, start of the day. I'm going to do it again. We sit down, start of the day. We say, oh, actually, we need to what did I do that? We need to put that in comments, and silly us. E I don't know what else I want to put. So then we go ahead, check our changes. Hey, why we don't want to commit that, right? So there's a button here, revert block, that puts it back to the way it was. You see, it's undone the change of. I think we deleted that block of comments there. So that's what revert does, and what the discard changes does. They both undo the changes we have made. So yeah, we have put comments around this, and we added in that line. Well, commented script. So a useful commit message. Bam, we didn't stage it, remember? We didn't hit the plus icon, but it'll prompt us to just stage everything anyway. And I should be going along. Make some changes. That was step one. Stage changes. We didn't bother to do that. Write a commit message. We did do that, and we wrote a useful one this time. And then we hit commit. We committed it. And then lastly, push. Sounds easy. It basically is. That is how we can use Git to store our changes on GitHub, and as long as, if I can pull it up, as long as GitHub lasts. And to be honest, I trust GitHub lasting more than I trust my own computer lasting, because if GitHub loses our project, they're kind of fucked, because they have several $billion worth of other people's software that they're holding on to. And if they somehow lose all of that, then ours is the least of their concerns. So yeah, they'll probably look after it. And if they do lose it, we still have our own local copy. That should be enough to help you get by as a single developer. If you want to start using Git to cooperate with other developers working on the same project, you might need to learn a few more things, but as an initial starting off point, that's all you need, just for data backup. So this has been an unprofessional RenPy tutorial on data backups. Hope that has helped, and peace.